Hi everyone, this is Nya K. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to my collection of short scary stories. I hope you like it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel to show your support and for faster access to my future contents. If you have any scary stories you would like me to share, please email them to me at nyk2022@yahoo.com, or I will be putting the email in the description box below. Thank you and enjoy. The penalty of taking your own life. Do you believe in punishment for taking your own life? Do you believe that we are all living on a timeline that was given to us? I can remember it as in it was just yesterday. At the time, my grandpa had just passed away due to multiple strokes. My aunt and uncle were temporarily living with us due to their financial hardships. One night, as I tiptoed around their bedroom door to pass and go into the kitchen, I heard my aunt crying. Like every kid, I ignored it and went to the kitchen, grabbed my snacks, and sped back to my bedroom. The next morning, I was woken up by the sound of sirens. I stood up and noticed it was too close to be elsewhere, but could it be coming to our house? I opened my bedroom door and peeked out. I saw two men wheeling out a stretcher with a black body bag on top of it. I can also see my mother crying as my father caresses her. I decided to walk over to my parents and got a glimpse of my aunt's room. Her bed was a mess. There was a rope hanging from the open ledge on her bedroom ceiling. When the coroners asked my parents for the information of my uncle, whom should be the one responsible to take care of her body after examining her, the police also deemed the death as a suicide. Therefore, no further investigation was necessary. A few weeks went by and it was finally time for my aunt's funeral. My uncle was not exactly sad. There was a new woman who cleaned onto my uncle, therefore, leaving my parents to do most of the work. My mom had to sit by the coffin instead, since my uncle didn't bother to do so himself. The day of the burial finally came. It was time for the funeral director to come take my aunt and load her onto the car to transport her to her final destination. For our tradition, if you love someone dearly, you'd open the casket to sew on this pouch, filled with a grain of rice and a piece of chicken. Mind you, we had a closed casket funeral due to how bad her face looked from how she died. As my mother cried and sewn the pouch onto the collar of her shirt, my mom swore she saw my aunt peeked at her and grinned. But my mom, knowing that she cannot be startled so that way her soul won't be vulnerable, my mom quickly finished her part and closed the casket. We finished the burial and proceeded life as usual. A few months went by. It was my 10th birthday. That night we had just finished cleaning up after all of the guests left from celebrating my birthday with me. I was so excited for all of my gifts that I was just up so late that night. At 12 a.m. I heard footsteps creaking right outside of my bedroom door. Thinking I was probably just imagining it, or probably it's just my uncle or my parents, I ignored it. Around 1 a.m., I became tired, so I laid on my bed. For some reason, I couldn't sleep, so I kept staring at the fan on my bedroom ceiling. It felt like I was finally drifting off to sleep when I heard the voice of my aunt. She was crying, and then I heard loud gurgling sounds. You know, the sound like someone's choking. I was too tired, so I just fell asleep. The next night quickly came by, but this time I had school the next morning, so I was forced to go to bed early. My uncle had finally came back home for the week because he usually sleeps at his girlfriend's house. I only heard his side of the story when he told my parents, so this is what he said. He was laying on the bed touching his phone with all of the lights off and minding his own business. As he stared into his phone, something caught the attention on the side of his eyes. He saw a black figure at the foot of his bed. He got scared and quickly turned to his side and tried to go to sleep. Instead, he heard my aunt's crying voice and heard gurgling too. So when he looked up towards where my aunt hung herself a few months ago and saw her struggling for life, he knew she was already dead, so he started to lecture her. In our culture, if we are being scared or startled by a dead person, we'd lecture them instead. So, when he finished telling my parents of the issues, I too told my parents that I heard the crying and gurgling too. My parents had one of our relatives come to a shamanic ceremony where they seek for the issues that's been bothering us. The shaman said, "When your wife died, it was not meant for her to go yet. Perhaps the gods are punishing her by making her repeat her death over and over again because she cannot pass through to the other side yet due to her cutting her life so short. So I have asked the gods to forgive her so her family whom is left behind can be at peace." The shaman did a ritual, and that's when the hearing of my aunt dying again and again stopped. Now that I am much older, the thought of hearing her suffer over and over again is just so sad. I also found out that my aunt killed herself because my uncle was cheating on her with a girlfriend who came with him to my aunt's funeral. Thank you all for listening to my short, scary stories. If you have any stories that you would like for me to share or any scary encounters, please send them to me at nyake2022@yahoo.com. Thank you.